Good afternoon, viewers. We are at the premises of the Embassy of Ethiopia to the Kingdom of Belgium, the Grand Duchy of Luxembourg, and the European Union. Today, we have the honor and the privilege of meeting with and presenting to you His Excellency, Mr. Tilahun, the Ambassador of the Federal Republic of Ethiopia to the Kingdom of Belgium, the Grand Duchy of Luxembourg, and the European Union. Good afternoon, Mr. Ambassador.
Good afternoon, David.
We have the honor of meeting with you, and I must say, yours is a spectacular embassy. The architecture is classic. And how long has this embassy been here?
Yeah, thank you so much for that appraisal. This embassy represents the Benelux countries and the European Union institutions. It is one of the biggest embassies of Ethiopia across the globe. This premises was bought in 2016. Since then, it has become a property. Before that, we were both residing and also using office through contracts of rental and
Is this embassy also accredited to the Netherlands?
Yes, it is. We covered the Netherlands, Belgium, the Netherlands, the Grand Duchy of Luxembourg, and the European Union institutions.
Wow, it's a very busy embassy.
It is. It is a lot of activities, very wide issues of interest for us, and Ethiopia being an important country in the African continent. There is a lot of agenda that we do have in common with all, the bilateral and the European Union.
Mr. Ambassador, talk to us about Ethiopia from the point of view that this is an ancient civilization that stands between many ancient cultures. From time memorial, Ethiopia was presented as one of the three top commercial hubs on earth, the others being Persia and China.
That is true. In that part of the world, Ethiopia was one of the oldest empires because of the historical evidences that need to have a strong account of written documentation. We are always oscillating between 3,000 and 5,000 years, but for me either are correct, but the statehood in the Horn of Africa, the present day Ethiopia, is quite old, comparable to, as you said, the Persian, later on the Romans, and so on. For us, even during the Pharaonic era and the Babylonic civilization, Ethiopia was always there, and that is the face of the continent of Africa. We can't say by any standards other civilizations are earlier than that of Africa.
Yes. Looking at proceeding from what you've just said, and considering the achievements of the Aksum people, from which Ethiopia originates, all the achievements that have been recorded, I mean, there were biblical recordings of Ethiopia. I mean, the Queen of Sheba legend has it originated from Ethiopia. In the the later years of Pharaonic Egypt, there was also an account of Queen Cleopatra wanting to smuggle her son with Julius Caesar, Caesar, through Ethiopia to India. We also have the phenomenon of the Rastafarian movement that adopted Emperor Haile Selassie as its prophet and an icon. Looking at all this, would you say Ethiopia as a brand has underachieved in terms of its marketability?
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, on the historic accounts you stated, Ethiopia is much older than the era of the Aksumite kingdom, as we've stated in the first reflection of your question. And it is only natural that once we agree that there were these old civilizations in the Nile Basin, as well as in the Tigris and the Euphrates area and so on, as a counterpart civilization, Ethiopia had that interactions. Reference to the religious accounts, it is true that all the three Abrahamic religions were practiced in Ethiopia and are also practiced today. The footprints of Judaism are there. I mean, the Old Testament practices in Ethiopia are very, very common and public. There are also historic accounts in many islands and monasteries. Also, Ethiopia welcomed the followers of his sallallahu alaihi wasallam Prophet Muhammad at Al-Najashi and so on. With regard to the Aksumite civilization, recent findings are showing, even through heritage that has been discovered, there were older civilizations which are interconnected to the Meroe civilization in the Sudan, and also there is a place called Yaha in Ethiopia in the Tigray administration, and many others in the southern part of the country also. Partially, I should agree with you that Ethiopia has sold the treasures that it has, and how it has represented and can be an iconic symbol of older civilizations on the continent of Africa. This culture of modesty and decency, I think, has lived with us until today, even. So there is a humility, as you said. We need to do more and more in this era of digitization, and African brothers and sisters also need to explore this as our common heritage, and it is the past that we all share. And for that matter, humanity itself has came from Ethiopia. You know the story of Lucy. Yesterday also there is a new discovery of humanoids. So there is no doubt that humanity has came from Africa and from the Horn of Africa, Ethiopia. The recent rift in the Eastern Rift Valley is exposing a lot of historic evidences toward this.
Certainly. Now, as an Ethiopian, tell me something. How do you feel when you reflect on the fact that this is a unique civilization that was not successfully occupied by a foreign power, like an Occidental power, occupied in terms of successful colonialism. So we have a situation where there's a unique African identity that has evolved uninterrupted for thousands of years. How do you feel knowing that the others never had this opportunity? And what advice would you want to share in terms of your experience?
Yeah, thank you so much. That is a very important question that should resonate even as we see our realities in Africa today. As a society, as people, we've been there with all mankind scattered across the continents, and there is no inferiority or what have you in terms of our existence as people, as humanity. Different revolutions of civilization didn't take hold in our continent. There was a lot of disruption because of internal and external factors and so on. To come back to your question, it is true that Ethiopia had a very long history of statehood, and that has, I think, made us very resilient and also unique in terms of collaborating at the times of difficulty, maintaining our unity as a source of strength to overcome all the challenges from the outside world. And that has helped Ethiopians to defeat attempt of colonization, which later on evolved, as you know, an inspiration for Pan-Africanism. So what I should tell my fellow Africans is that it is always important that we exercise some sense of self-reliance, resilience, interdependence, and cooperating and unifying ourselves at the time of difficulty. That is the landmark for Ethiopians to, earn the victory of Adowa in 1896.
I think this will resonate in Africa. Yes. Now let's talk about the issue of land reforms in Ethiopia. Would you say it's been successfully resolved in contemporary times? Because it appears to me that a lot of efforts were invested in transforming Ethiopia from an agrarian society to a modern society. I suppose that was one of the reasons that inspired the revolution of Colonel Mengistu.
1974.
Exactly. So what is this situation today?
To give a bit of historic account of it, after the defeat of colonialism in Africa, in Adowa, it came back again in 1935. The Italians invaded Ethiopia for the second time, and by then we had a kind of really nearing state collapse. The king has to go on exile, and our patriots kept on fighting for their freedom. On the return of the emperor, and even a bit earlier than that, during the Menelik expansion toward the southern part of and western parts of the country, his closer officials, army personnel, and so on, used to get a significant chunk of land, and a tenant-landlord relationship start to grow, and at a later stage, after the second war of Italy, the issue has become a subject of discourse. And in the 1960s, 1970s, the Ethiopian student movement took that as one of the biggest agenda, land to the tiller. Land to the tiller, land to the tiller. It was a big slogan of mobilization. And then the reform was made in 1975. It has basically resolved the tenant landlord issue, and many chunks of land were divided to those who farm, who till the land by their own, and then they became beneficiary of their efforts. So the land ownership, I may call it like that, but we call it in Ethiopia as a right to use, entitlement to use. Individuals can have the right of tilling their land and land use right. There is also a collective land use right, where you can use it for your herds and so on in commonality. And the third is land under protection of the government. For instance, parks, gorge areas, wetlands, and so on are under the property of the government. So it has resolved the basic economic relationship between classes. That has been a big achievement. In terms of modernization and revolutionizing the agricultural sector, yes, it has its impediments. Why? Because of fragmentation. When the land to the tiller happened, lands were divided, population keeps on growing, the tertiary sectors of the economy were not developed, and the lands would be further fragmented. If a family has, let's say, 6 sons, he has to divide the land that he for first time got through the distribution process. So in this sense, yes, it has implications, but it has resolved the basic socio-economic relationship between the classes in rural Ethiopia. Now we have to remedy that. There are many means to remedy that. One is to deploy personnel in the countryside who would advise farmers in terms of crop production, animal husbandry, and environmental protection. So on the crop production, for instance, to have a bigger commercial size farming, what we are doing is to join the small fragmented lands with a standard provided from the support giving institutions like Ministry of Agriculture. So many adjacent small farmers will produce the same thing with the same standard, and when the produce